So I'm talking today with Sheryl Doades, who plays the Hare in Alice in Vaudeville, which is playing at MCCT on Friday and Saturday nights, July 30th and 31st at 7 p.m. Thanks so much for being with us, Sheryl. Tell me a little bit about how you got into the theater. What really hooked you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. If you had asked my mom, she would have said I was singing and dancing before I could walk. So I started out in dance at age 2, playing musical instruments in school, getting involved in choir. I didn't actually get involved in theater until I was in high school. Um, Very weird side story of I gotten injured in a volleyball game and ended up auditioning for the musical because I couldn't do dance. So I needed to find another creative outlet. It was an amazing experience. Got bitten by the bug, went to college, majored in musical theater, and have been working as a professional actor, singer, dancer, director for the past 15-ish years or so now.
Great. And how did you come to be involved with MCCT?
This is my first show with MCCT. I moved to Bloomington about 4 years ago, summer of 2017, and have been working with a couple other theater companies in town. But I've seen some audition notices come up and wanted to go out, but it just never seemed to align. This was sort of the perfect, time to audition and get out there, and it worked out really well. So I'm excited to do this one with MCCT as my first show.
Great. So tell us a little bit about your character, the Hare from Alice in Wonderland. How would you describe the Hare in this production?
So the March Hare is a bit of a perfectionist. Definitely has a bit of a temper, but it takes a long time to get there. If you ask my husband, I have a similarity to the character of it's that, I will watch you do something, but be like, I told you, I remember I told you so when it goes wrong and you didn't do it the way I told you first. The Hare is not a people person unless forced to be, but there's definitely that customer service voice of, okay, I have to deal with people. Let me do that now. And the Hare has a lovely foil in the Hatter, who is, more of the outgoing, people-y person, alpha type character. And the Hare is just more like, all right, I'm here. Hi, I'll do what needs to be done, but hanging out back in a little bit of the shadow.
Well, what have you been doing to prepare for the role to really inhabit the March Hare and get into the March Hare's world and mind?
Yeah, so a lot of just kind of standard actor homework, reading through the script and, kind of making character decisions based on what other people say about the character in the script, what I need out of that situation. The Hare actually deals with the Hare and the Hatter have a bit of a romantic entanglement with a previous spouse of the Hares that the Hatter. I won't ruin that for you, but there's a little bit of an emotional entanglement outside their working partnership that comes to a head during the show. But yeah, a lot of it's been a lot of playing with the other actors in the room. So after reading the script and doing that kind of homework, it's just been about getting in the room with the cast, the Zoom room, and sort of bouncing things off each other and seeing what happens. There's in this script so much comedy and fast moving dialogue that it's just really easy to get in and bounce off with the people and their personalities and how they like to tell jokes and how they land. So it's been really fun.
Great. And it seems like vaudeville and that comic timing and that that sense of somewhat structured, somewhat spontaneous is a big part of this play. What's been your exposure to vaudeville and to Alice in Wonderland?
Yeah, so Alice, I grew up with the Disney movie, and obviously the remakes that have happened through the years, because I'm a kid at heart and watch everything that comes out of. I have a 5-year-old too, so that keeps me more justifiably involved in the movies that come out for kids. I'll say that. I'd say my exposure to vaudeville, I have no firsthand experience with, old style vaudeville, but I did grow up on movie musicals and classic film with my parents. They were big movie buffs. So sort of through that and the comedies of the silent movie through the vaudevillian era that really show the comedy and the style of shows at the time, is that, that sort of research. And it's a, modern vaudeville acts like Whose Line Is It Anyway? And those sort of sketch comedy and variety shows, Saturday Night Live, those sorts of things where it's the same core of actors just moving through different sorts of things, would be my current exposure to it.
Right. It's funny. I didn't think about Whose Line Is It Anyway and Saturday Night Live really being vaudeville, but definitely they have those elements and they're rooted in them. So In this age of social distancing and COVID, and the show had to be turned from a stage play into an audio play. What sort of challenges and rewards were there in that process?
Yeah, so I'll start with the challenges. Obviously, we're not in the same room together. And we're dealing with internet being what it is and Zoom being what it is. So, sometimes reaction times are a little off and the people we're meeting are on a screen. It's not as easy to build a relationship through a screen as it would be in person. And we miss that energy in the room between the performers, and then of course the reason we get into theater and love it is the experience we're creating with the audience, the energy back and forth, hearing the jokes land, hearing them not land, hearing how your audience give you that energy to push back into the performance through the end, and their responses is just, that's been a challenge with building this show, is not getting to have that really reward for the actor at the end of getting to tell and share the story with the audience, and be in that moment. And that, again, internet being what it is, coming in and out every once in a while, we'll have a line and be like, wait a second, my internet's not working, I didn't unmute. We've forgetting to turn your mute button off and all those sorts of fun Zoom things. Some of the rewards, actually, it's been really fun to do it in this setting and reimagine this as an audio drama or audio play, because on one hand, we've got members of the cast in very different geographic locations. There's two members of the cast who are currently in North Carolina. And that means we sort of get a different pool of people we haven't met before. I know this is my first show with MCCT, but there are several people that I've been lucky enough to work with in Bloomington, including our Alice, Veronica, and our director, Kenny, in different contexts. So it's been really fun to also expand that circle and just have some different people be able to do it, and to have the flexibility to do it by internet, not have to worry about travel time and parking and all those sort of things. Logistics, parking in Bloomington being what it is. And also just sort of, one of the stressor actor things, I know people vary in their ability to memorize, and that can always be a really stressful portion of actor homework. And in performances, forgetting your line happens to us all, and we all learn how to work through it. But this being an audio play, the script is there with us. So you have a little bit of a freedom from the stress of remembering your lines to just continue playing and listening to people and responding to them as it feels in the moment as we were recording, which was really nice.
Great. Well, Alice in Wonderland was written before electricity and cars and telephones, and vaudeville, when we think of vaudeville, we probably go back to the turn of the last century, right? And you referenced the silent mover era. How do you think that this story is relevant for today's audiences? What do you hope that the audience takes away with them, that how it might change them or inspire them?
Yeah, so I think at its heart, Alice in Wonderland is a coming of age story that spans sort of that era appropriate or era specific. It's a young girl. Alice is 15 years old and trying to figure out who she is and what she wants. Being a rebellious teenager, running away from home, from her mother, to join this vaudeville troupe that she comes into. And just trying to find out what her talent is, what she's good at, what she wants with her life. I think we all can identify with that, even no matter how old you are, especially in this last year of COVID. A lot of us have had to rethink who we are and what we're doing and how we do them. And what an interesting thing to kind of pull from as we go into this play of just, we're all kind of figuring it out at the same time. For my character, the Hatter and the Hare, it's this, they're reconsidering their relationship comes to a head. They've been in this business partnership for years, for decades together, and there's some personal drama that has been sitting on the sidelines simmering for years, and how they deal with that and respond and deal with that hurt and move forward from it. Which, I'm married, I have a husband and a kid, and that's always something, our relationships change. We have to struggle through things together and apart and we've chosen to build our lives together. So how do we deal with those things and how they mingle, and in who we choose to be with and who we are, which is also ever growing and changing. So I think it's a fun way, Alice, I think there's things that we pull into this setting of Alice that are able to move past the time setting. And vaudeville's a fun way to imagine this, and it gives them a lot of ways to choose how they're gonna, there's a little bit of kind of noir comedy that works its way in there, and a lot of wordplay. And it's a really fun and fast and just cool way to imagine those stories coming together in those plots. I think the writer's done a really nice job of weaving elements of the original stories and the characters and their path, including the caucus race and, the walrus and the carpenter story, which you think, how does that work in vaudeville? It does. It really, really does. But weaving those worlds together to sort of bring it out of that time into another one, and then we can kind of reflect through that lens.
Wonderful.
That
Yeah,
was
that's
a really convoluted way of explaining that.
no, but it certainly answers the question and provides the audience with something to look forward to. So, it sounds to me like you've been involved in a lot of productions. I know that the Christian who wrote this has done acting, lighting, directing. What advice would you give to somebody who's just dipping their toes in the water? They wanted to be involved in the theater, but they weren't sure how to get started.
Just do it. I would say I've done a lot of performing work with students and young kids and adults that, as a teacher to students, that they're worried about something. There's something holding them back from doing it. And I think it's just getting out and doing it is that big first step. If you're interested in it, find a way to get involved. You can usher if you don't want to be on stage, or volunteer for something. There's set building. There's so many ways to be creative in the performing arts world and the visual arts world. So I'd say just do it. I think people will surprise themselves with what they're capable of if you put in anything, putting yourself out of your comfort zone. I'm not a singer, I'm not an actor, but there's always you'd be surprised what you can do if you don't tell yourself you can't, and you just try. Sucking at something is the first step at being sort of good at something. Master has failed more times than the novice has ever begun. You don't know if you're going to be good at something until you just try it. And we learn by failure. We learn by falling. We learn by doing silly things. A little kid doesn't, my 5-year-old didn't start walking, fall once, and say, nope, this isn't for me. I'm not good at it. And she got back up, she brushed herself off and tried again. She's got covered in bruises the first 5 years of her life, and mommy had several heart attacks. But she's, you got to start somewhere. Everyone starts somewhere, and everyone has the potential to surprise themselves with what they can do.
Well, thank you so much, Sheryl. I hope that everyone turns out and is surprised by what this troupe can do with Alice in Vaudeville, which is going to be playing via Zoom. It's an audio play. Performances are July 30th and July 31st, Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. And tickets are available at mcct.org. Thank you once again, Sheryl, and I'm looking forward to seeing the show.
Thank you for having me. I hope everyone enjoys it. We had so much fun making it.